So 2 days ago we had really an amazing case of a 40-year-old man who came into the hospital who'd been beat up by somebody else, had been hit on the top of the head with some sort of a club. And taking care of head injured patients has always been difficult here because we don't have a CT scanner, we don't have really the ICU you need to take care of them, and so in many ways we're just so dependent upon God on how they're going to go regardless. And it's been a challenge of learning how to do neurosurgery here, especially when we're not really trained to do it. So this guy had what we call lateralizing signs, where his injury was on this side of his head and yet the other side of his body wasn't moving. And furthermore, his ability to talk and communicate had gotten worse since he had arrived at the hospital. And so these are signs that are indicative of something that we might be able to help with an operation. And so really prayerfully we decided to take him back to the operating room and give it a try. In this case, we opened him up where he already had lacerations and where we knew there were some fractured skull, planning to potentially open up this entire part to look and see what was there. Once we got into the operating room, we were able to begin to lift off a plate of bone, and what we found underneath was something that's called an epidural hemorrhage, which this is the first I've ever seen in terms of me operating on. Basically what had happened was one of the arteries on the outside of the brain had been cut during this when this bone was broken, and he had blood on the outside of the lining of the brain pushing on the brain. But the underlying brain probably was relatively uninjured, which is great news. This is someone you can really help. And so we were able to suction this blood out, get rid of it, find a bleeding vessel down there and stop that. You know, we really never know how these folks are going to do. We were so blessed the next morning to come in to see him awake and communicating, and even more so moving his entire body. And so far he's been doing well. We just thank God for this recovery and pray that he'd receive all the glory for it.